smoke is quieting down. Seems like we've got to a lot of the smoke. Dub, you got smoke?
So, Ish gives an example in the Patreon episode, Access and Excess, about corporate workers versus talent, but specifically podcast talents and how funds are appropriated or should be appropriated. Ish looks at his value on the podcast as a corporate employee and not as talent, and doesn't have any entitlement other than what's on his contract, and that's fire. As any business owner, you would love to have an employee like Ish, but what makes it better for Joe is that this is really his friend, and this is really how Ish feels. This is what makes Joe really great at picking the new cast as well, to me, in my eyes. Like, he really thought out picking out Ice and Ish and having all these guys there. And that's a skill in itself, for real. You know? Ish feels, though, if Joe Budden was to get an ad right now, the ad money has nothing to do with him because he already signed what he signed on his contract. So whatever is after the fact, he's not entitled to that. And that is correct. But Imani asked him, do you think you could come back and renegotiate or amend the contract after the fact, or if you feel like your value is more? And Ish basically says, yes, I can do whatever I want, but if my value to Joe isn't at that point where I can get leverage, then what am I doing? You know, but Imani says to him, who are you to know the value? Imani doesn't like the fact that Ish doesn't really see himself as talent. Look at the files.
Nigga, we on the Joe Budden podcast. Joe got an ad. That ad has nothing to do with us. The ad has nothing to do with us. And I've made this argument behind closed doors and in front of the microphone that if Joe gets an ad, the ad has nothing to do with Antoine because Antoine has signed a contract based on Ish.
But can Ish now come to the table and say, I want to amend my contract because stipulations and things have changed, and that's literally what E. Nessingham could have done.
Stay here. I can do whatever the fuck I think I can do. But if my value to Joe is not X, where I can now renegotiate,
you don't have leverage.
And I don't have no
But
leverage.
who are you to say what the value of their talent was to?
Yo, I love the passion. Hold up.
You ever had a job in corporate?
Yep.
No,
So how do you say it's not true?
because
Yo, that's such a dissing podcast, Lynn. You ever worked in corporate?
No,
have you ever done anything in music?
No.
So how can you give an opinion on music? You know what I'm saying? But see, you don't have to do it to have the education on it.
I give an opinion on business, and I've been in business for 25 years on my own. That's what I talk about. I talk about what I know. I don't talk about no chords. I don't talk about no strums and synthesizers and none of that shit. I talk about money.
It's the only thing I would say, and it's not necessarily going against your point, but it needs to be context to it.
My nigga, the niggas be talking about what they don't know. Fam, in contracts, we have to abide by the contract. What we talking about? You don't renegotiate at your behest.
No, the only thing I would say, which I think goes against, and by the way, I'm saying this being in the position that is now hired. Now, here's the thing. Hold on. The difference between corporate America and when you talk about anything in the talent industry is that there isn't replaceable people. Like, you can't just say you work in payables or you're like
So as you can see, Ish was really standing on his square the whole time when it came to this topic. You know, to me, I feel like he is a very loyal friend to Joe, you know, over all the years, even through their fights and whatever they had. Like, just his passion and the way he talks about certain things and the way he looks at business it really means a lot in friendship, you know? But even if Ish would never put Joe on the ropes to pay him more when ad deals come in or any new business ventures pertaining to the pod, and just let it to continue to be genuine, he should still know that his value is more than an AT&T employee. Even though I get his analogy, you know what I mean? The gang was trying to really cool off Ish this whole time when he was going crazy. He was wilding. Imani started dying laughing that they triggered Ish and he went so crazy. But I think that Ish just loves the business convos. It's something that he likes to debate about. He even went in on the Bag Fuel interview that he had just recently. Another one of Ish's points was that if AT&T signs a mega deal for $1 billion, the employees are still making $32K. This is very true. And even in the music industry, people get paid peanuts still to this day. Joe even said recently he had bad contracts in the past where his likeness still gets used on Netflix, things like Love and Hip Hop, and doesn't reap the benefits. So Ish's stance in this whole thing is solely on people signing deals and having to deal with what they signed. You know, and Joe is a guy that is to attest to that, you know, but Joe was loving every bit of Ish's passion and even told AKADEMIKS, this is my man. Ak said, you got a guy who abides by contracts. What do you guys think? Do you think Ish is a loyal potter? Do you think, you know, his value is more? What would you tell him in the comments about himself and what he said in this piece right here? Like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate you all, and we'll be back with the files.
My guy Dub too. That's my man though.
Gang, gang.
That's my man, Big Dub.